Kenosha, late July. Let me set the scene for you. Sunday the 26th, we're sitting under a heat advisory. Heat index forecast to hit somewhere between 100 and 103 degrees. Counties just west of us. They got bumped up to an extreme heat warning as index values pushed toward 105. And then that same night, the storms rolled through. Forecasters were talking about damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour, large hail, even isolated tornadoes buried in the line. Temperatures didn't settle back into the mid-80s until Tuesday. So here's why I'm talking about it. If you're in the concrete trade around here, that's the single hardest week of the year to place a slab. Not one of the hardest, the hardest. Because you've got two opposite problems stacked back to back. Extreme drying conditions all afternoon, then water landing on a surface that has barely begun to set. And if you had concrete poured in the last 10 days or so, I want you to pay attention. Because the next month is when the problems from that week are going to show up. Not today, not tomorrow, but they're coming. Let's talk about why heat is such a killer, because most people have the mental model completely backwards. Concrete doesn't dry, that's the thing, it's not like paint. It cures, it goes through an actual chemical reaction, and that reaction needs water to stay in the mix for days. Not hours, days. So picture what happens on a 95-degree afternoon. Direct sun overhead, a breeze coming in off the lake. That top surface is losing moisture way faster than water can migrate up from the bottom of the slab, which means the skin on top starts shrinking while the concrete underneath it isn't shrinking at all. Something's got to give, and what gives is the surface. It tears. You won't see it that day. You'll see it in a week or two as random hairline cracks that seem to come out of nowhere. They didn't come out of nowhere. They were baked in on day one. Now a crew that knows what it's doing has answers for every piece of this, and none of them are exotic. It's just discipline. Rapid surface evaporation. You fog spray. You use an evaporation retarder. You put up wind screens. Shortened working time, because heat means the concrete goes off faster and you lose your window. You start at dawn. You use a retarding admixture. You put more finishers on site than you'd need in October because there's simply less time to get the same square footage done. Dry, hot subgrade and forms, that base will suck moisture right out of the bottom of your slab and leave you with a weak underside and edges that fail early. So you dampen the base and the forms before the truck ever pulls up. Rain on green concrete? That's the storm half of the problem. Water hitting concrete that hasn't gained enough surface strength leaves you with a pitted, dusty, chalky finish that literally sheds sand when you walk on it. The fix is sheeting on the trailer, ready to go, or you just don't pour that day. And heavy runoff behind a retaining wall. Drainage stone, weep holes, filter fabric. Do it right the first time, because you can't add it later without tearing the wall apart. None of that is complicated. It's the difference between a crew watching the forecast and a crew that just shows up with a truck and hopes. Here's where it gets even tighter, decorative work. Broom-finished flat work gives you a little bit of slack. Not much, but some. Decorative work gives you almost none. Stamping needs the slab sitting in a narrow window of firmness, firm enough to hold the pattern, soft enough to take it. At 95 degrees, that window can close in under an hour. Under an hour. Which is exactly why a stamped patio in a Wisconsin July needs a bigger crew and a much earlier start than the identical job would need in September. Same drawing, same square footage, completely different labor plan. And color behaves differently in heat too. Integral color release agents, they respond to how evenly the slab cures. Uneven curing shows up as light patches and dark patches that you cannot wash out, cannot scrub out, cannot fix. That's permanent. On a backyard patio, you look at every single day. All right, let's shift to the concrete you already own, because a heat and storm cycle like that stresses existing slabs too. Take a walk around your property this week and look at 4 specific things. Number 1, joint sealant. Sun cooks caulk and expansion joint filler until it shrinks and pulls away from the sides. Once that joint is open, every drop of storm water goes straight down into your base. That's the whole failure mechanism right there. Number 2, slab edges near your downspouts. A 70-mile-an-hour storm line moves an enormous volume of water in just a few minutes. Look for washed-out gravel and voids underneath the slab edge. If you can see daylight under there, water's been working. Number 3, cracks that changed width. This one matters. A crack that was hairline back in May and is now a quarter-inch wide isn't just a crack anymore, it's telling you the base underneath is moving. And number 4, grading against the house. If your concrete has settled and now tilts toward the foundation, every storm from here on out is delivering water directly to your basement wall. That's not a concrete problem anymore. That's a water in your house problem. Catch these small and they stay small. Sealing a crack costs a fraction of what you'll spend once water has undermined the base and run it through 2 or 3 freeze cycles. Winter is the amplifier. It takes whatever damage summer started and multiplies it. Now I'll be straight with you about when repair stops making sense, because I'd rather tell you than sell you a patch job. If your driveway has multiple cracks wider than a quarter-inch, sections that rock when a car tire rolls over them, or spalling across more than a third of the surface, patching is throwing money at it. You'll patch, it'll fail, you'll patch again. Over a 10-year horizon, full replacement is genuinely the cheaper number. Not the cheaper invoice today, the cheaper number. Same logic on a wall. A block or poured retaining wall that's leaning after a storm has a drainage failure behind it. Full stop. And no amount of surface work, no amount of tuck-pointing or facing fixes a drainage problem you can't see. So here's the good news to end on. The best pour window in southeast Wisconsin is right around the corner. Late August through October. That's the sweet spot. Air temps in the 70s, cooler nights, much lower evaporation rates, and enough runway before the first hard freeze for a slab to gain real, meaningful strength. Everything I've described about heat damage, most of it just doesn't happen in that window. The catch is that everybody knows it. Homeowners in Pleasant Prairie, Summers, Bristol, Salem, Twin Lakes, Paddock Lake, Silver Lake, Trevor, they all want the same 6 weeks. And crews book out. That's just the reality of a short season. So if you've been going back and forth on a driveway, a patio, a walkway, or a wall for this fall, now's the moment to get it measured and get a date on the calendar. Not September. Now. If you want a set of eyes on it, that's what we're here for. Concrete Contractors, Kenosha, right here in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Give us a call at 262-667-5367. We'll come look at what you've got, tell you honestly whether it needs repair or replacement, and get you scheduled before the good weather runs out. That's 262-667-5367. Take care of yourselves out there, and go take that walk around your property.